Good evening, everyone. We are going to go ahead and call to order the meeting of the City of Bloomington Council. And if everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Kearns. Present. Councilmember Bowman.
Here.
Councilmember Montague. Here. Councilmember Dannenberger.
Here.
Councilmember Becker.
Here.
Councilmember Hendricks.
Here.
Councilmember Ward. Here. Councilmember Lee.
Here.
Councilmember Crumpler.
Here.
Mayor Milwaukee.
Here. And I'm demonstrating, if everyone could please speak into the microphone, including those of you who might come up to those mics so that the audio on YouTube can also pick it up. That'd be great. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a recognition of board and commission appointment and reappointments as requested by the administration department.
We'd like to recognize Dallas Long with the Cultural Commission, Mark Holderbree with the Building Board of Appeals, sorry about that. And then for the Cultural Commission, Jeffrey Pitzer, Shweta Shloka, and for the Planning Commission, Mark Mulick and Justin Boyd. And for the Property Maintenance Review Board, Kate Brunk. And for the Zoning Board of Appeals, Victoria Harris and Michael Strasser.
Okay, and I see that a few, or maybe just one, is here. Dallas, right? Please just wait, okay? Thank you very much for your commitment and service to the city. Really appreciate it and look forward to your contributions. Thank you. Next, we are going to talk a little bit about the Welcoming Week, which began this Saturday. And I want to thank Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Donna Bolin for representing me at Welcoming Week, McLean County Museum of History. It's always a fun time. I did it last year. Unfortunately, I had another commitment to be out of town this year, but it's always something that I look forward to welcoming folks who are coming from other parts of the world, country, to be here in Bloomington. And in honor of Welcoming Week and in partnership with the Immigration Project, we have several folks who will share their personal immigration story. And I think I'm going to turn it over to Michael Hurt, right? Just to briefly introduce everyone, and then we'll go from there. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Tonight we're going to hear from one of our newer citizens. Her name is Gladys Cabezas, and she is immigrated to our community from the country of Colombia. She will be accompanied by her daughter, Lady Sands, who will help her interpret. Ladies and gentlemen, Gladys Cabezas.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My name is Gladys Cabezas, and I would like to tell you that I've been here for 55 years. I became a citizen when I lived in Peoria over 55 years. And this is my home. I'm very happy to be here in America. I really love this country. I have great memories, and I do remember when I first came here, like when I speak in English, not a word. How did I learn a little bit? I try a little bit here, I see teachers here, teachers in there, but it was very hard. And I still think it's very hard. But I'm very grateful to be here. I have worked very hard in many places. I worked in San Francisco Hospital for 10 years. I did a great job, and I love that place. Then I went to Caterpillar. I worked there for a little bit, and I enjoyed it very much. But then problems, so they lay us off, they call us back, and then I said, forget it, I'm just going to Bloomington. So I came here to Bloomington from Peoria, and I work at the country club. I work in different restaurants. Then I went to Eureka Williams. Then they sent out the company far away from here. So then I went to ICC. I worked there another little bit, wherever I could find the places. And finally I worked at Nestle Bikes. I worked for almost 20-some years ago. And I really enjoyed very much. Everything was a learning process of everything. But all in all, I was thinking about my family. So I had to work hard and save a little money here and there because I want to bring my family here. So finally, I have the favors to get the family. So I have 10 people at once. And 9 people came at once after 13 years. This is my little niece, which is my big niece now. She was 3 years old?
No, I was a baby.
She was like a year and a half when I applied for her. And it took 13 years to get her over here. And her mother, her father, and her brother all came at once. And I have another brother who has 2 children, also the same age as her. And they waited 13 years because I want them to come all legal. So by doing that, it takes a long time. But thanks God, when the immigration says you have a house for them, you have money saved for everybody, because all your family is here. I said, what? They'll be here in no time. You accept that everyone is ready to come. So I was working doubles and doubles and doubles and looking for an old house or new house, whatever I could find it. And I got a house and they all came. It was a great joy for me. So I had 9 people at once. My brothers, my sisters, my nieces, nephews, little kids, but they're all grown up now. She's a professional, gone to college, graduated from Harvard, then from ISU, then another type from ISU. She's very smart girl and she did it, and she's a professional. And I have another niece, she's in New York, she's also professional, international business. And the brother is an engineer, electronic, some sort of engineer, but everyone done very well. And I love this country because they gave me the opportunity to bring in my family, and to have all of them educated. I didn't marry nobody because I want to have my family here, which I did. And I'm so happy about that. And thanks to God and to all of you wonderful people that I done okay. And until I die, I'll be grateful to America. One time, my brother came for the first time, and they stayed here for a month or so. And he said one morning, Gladys, I said, what are you doing at 6 o'clock in the morning in my porch? It's too early. She goes, because I see the little ladies walking with the white hair, red lipstick, and they say, good morning. And he couldn't say the words, but he thought what they were saying. And he said, do you know what, Gladys? I don't think God was in other countries. I think God walked here in America. And I cry, and I always remember the word. God was here in America because everyone is so nice. I couldn't see any color or gender, anything, because to me everybody's the same. So I love everybody the same, and I have a wonderful, wonderful feelings. Today, tomorrow, and until I die, I'll be thinking the same. And grateful to you guys. all the people in America. I don't care if you like me or not. I still gonna like you. I don't care if you tell me do this, you that. I'm still going to love everybody. Thank you. And thank you again.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Denise. My name is Lady Sams, and I became a U.S. citizen recently, about 4 years ago or so. And I am very grateful for my aunt bringing me here to America and my family, my parents, my brother, my cousins, aunts, and uncle. And I mean, it's wonderful. It's an amazing country. All my dreams came true. You know, I worked so hard. I didn't know any English when I first moved here. Like, I felt lost, you know, and I said, I have to learn English. I learned it, I went to high school and I learned it within 3 months. And after that, I was like, I want the American dream. I'm going to go to college, so I enrolled in Harlem Community College, got my associates, and I said, you know what, I want to continue my education. So I went to ISU, major in international business, and then the pandemic happened, so really I wanted to travel the world and stuff like that, but because of COVID, I couldn't really do anything, so I started working from home. I worked for about a year and a half or so, and I said, you know what, I want to go back to college. So I ended up going back to ISU to get my master's degree, and I just graduated with an MBA, and I did it within a year. And I mean, I did it all because of being in America, having my family here, having support from my husband, my mom, my parents, and it all started because we moved to America, and I'm grateful for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have two young ladies from Mexico, and don't confuse them, both of their names are Rocio. First, you're going to hear from Rocio Perez. Rocio?
Hello, my name is Rocio Perez, and Rocio, she's gonna be my translator because I don't know a lot of English.
Okay, I think you understand the part. She says that she doesn't speak much English, but she does. But she's gonna go in Spanish.
Yo vine a Estados Unidos hace 21 años.
I came to this country 21 years ago.
Vine sola
I came by myself
con una tía que tenía. Y
with an aunt that I have.
me gusta mucho esta ciudad, Bloomington, porque hay muchas oportunidades para poder salir adelante y para que nuestros hijos tengan una mejor educación.
I really like the city of Bloomington because it's a place where I can have many opportunities to move forward with my life, as well as my children. They can have a good education.
Estoy muy agradecida con Dios de que me haya traído a este lugar. He encontrado personas muy maravillosas que me han ayudado a salir adelante y me gustaría seguir estudiando para aprender un mejor inglés.
This has been a place that has welcomed me. I have met very wonderful people who have helped me along my journey, and I'm wishing that I could go back to school and study more English.
Y me gustaría, nunca pude estudiar de pequeña porque mi madre nunca tuvo dinero y ese fue el motivo que yo me vine a Estados Unidos. Y a mí me gustaría seguir estudiando y mi sueño siempre fue ser una maestra y ojalá pueda cumplir ese sueño.
So one of my dreams is to go back to school because when I was little, my mom couldn't afford us to go to school. So one of my dreams is to do it. I still want to do it. My dream is to become a teacher.
Muchas gracias por esta maravillosa comunidad.
Thank you very much for this community.
I took 5 years of Spanish, in high school and also junior high, I guess. So I could understand still some. It's exciting me because I feel like I understand it. It's exciting, but I need to go back and learn some more. So while she goes back for English, I'm gonna go for Spanish. That's awesome. Thank you.
Primero que nada, first of all, quiero dar las gracias a Dios por darme la oportunidad de estar aquí.
I want to thank God for giving me the opportunity to be here with you tonight.
Mi nombre es Rocío Gama
My name is Rocio Gama.
y yo llegué aquí hace 22 años
I came here to this country 22 years ago
con mi niño más pequeño que en ese entonces tenía 6 meses.
with my youngest child who was 6 months at that time.
Por buscando mejor futuro para ellos, mejor oportunidades.
Looking for better opportunities for a better future.
Discúlpame porque yo soy un poco nerviosa.
I apologize, I get a little nervous.
En total ahora tengo 2 niñas y 2 niños.
Now I have 2 girls and 2 boys.
Y para empezar, no fue nada fácil llegar aquí,
It was not easy when I first arrived here.
porque cuando cruzamos, pues muchos sufrimos y yo creo que ustedes saben que muchos a veces no logran llegar a este país porque muchos fallecen en el camino.
Because when we crossed the border, it was not easy. As you may know, a lot of people don't make it and die while in the effort to cross.
Pero yo le doy las gracias a Dios porque me permitió llegar.
But I thank God because He gave me the opportunity to make it here.
Ha sido difícil porque también llegué sola aquí y se me ha sido difícil porque no tengo familia aquí más que mis hijos.
It was very hard for me because I came here by myself. I don't have any other family here. Now I have my kids.
A veces cuando uno pasa momentos difíciles, a veces uno quiere como tener pues a alguien, un familiar, una mamá, tía o hermano, alguien para desahogarse de lo que uno está pasando.
So when you're having a hard time, you sometimes wish you could have your mom or your sibling or some relative that you could, share your pains with.
No ha sido difícil, he batallado, he tenido altas y bajas con mis hijos aquí.
I have struggled, I have had ups and downs with my children here.
También llegué aquí con mi ex pareja,
I also came here with my former partner,
pero me tuve que separar de él porque sufría violencia doméstica con él.
I had to leave him because I suffered domestic violence with him.
Fue difícil el camino, pero con agencias de la comunidad,
It was not an easy journey, but with the help of community agencies,
una de ellas, Proyecto de Migración,
one of them, the Immigration Project,
que me ayudaron
they helped me
por medio de la violencia que yo pasé.
because of the violence I suffered.
Recibí un permiso de trabajo,
I was able to get a job permit,
que se le dice visa U, que se le llama visa U.
that is also called U visa.
Antes de eso estuve sin estatus legal por 13 años,
Before I had that, I had no legal status for 13 years.
pero en el 2014
but in 2014,
empezó el proceso por lo de violencia doméstica.
I started the process because I suffered domestic violence.
Después de eso, el siguiente paso fue la residencia.
After that, I was able to become a resident.
Y ahora quiero compartir con ustedes que el mes pasado me hice ciudadana.
And right now, I would like to share with you that last month I became a citizen.
Le doy gracias a Dios porque nunca me abandonó
I thank God because He never abandoned me.
y gracias a este hermoso país
And thanks to this beautiful country
porque es un país de oportunidades
because it is truly a country of opportunities.
y creo que en mi país no es tan fácil como aquí, que este país nos da la oportunidad también de, cuando somos mamás solteras, aquí tenemos más oportunidad de salir con nuestros hijos adelante.
Because in Mexico it wouldn't have been that easy. Like over here, though it was not easy, there's community agencies that help moms who are single moms.
Y me gusta mucho
I really like it.
este país.
This country, I like this country.
Nuevamente lo único, como ya les había dicho, extraño a mi familia,
Like what is hard is to have family away. I miss them.
pero con la ayuda de Dios lo sigo logrando.
But with God's help, I continue doing it.
Gracias a esta comunidad,
I thank this community.
gracias por las oportunidades que nos da este país y también las agencias, la comunidad.
I thank this country because of all the opportunities that they give us, as well as the community agencies in town.
Y Dios bendiga este país
Plus that God bless this country
y toda la gente que está aquí.
and all of us.
We thank you, ladies, for your inspiring stories and your appreciation of our country, our state, and most of all, the city of Bloomington. Let's give them one more hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for sharing your story. Very moving. First time that I've ever seen 3 Rocíos in the same place. And I actually know another one at ISU, so if we could get all of you together, that'd be 4 Rocíos together. But this, was definitely moving, and it really, it's a good thing to bring to life these stories. It's one thing to read about them, but to hear from people and to get the emotion, to feel the emotion that people go through when they've gone through so many struggles is definitely inspiring. It makes us thankful for what we have and help us understand the struggles that people go through in different countries, but also encourages us to continue to be supportive to folks who come here and seek a better life and better opportunity. So definitely appreciate you sharing. And it's a nice segue into recognizing September 17th as a Citizenship Day, a day where we reflect on the meaning and importance of citizenship in this country and residents in the city of Bloomington. So we're very thankful that you've become residents of the city of Bloomington, and and bringing your heritage here and helping to enrich the city of Bloomington as well. If you want to learn more about Welcoming Week events taking place in Bloomington, you can do so by visiting our website, bloomingtonil.gov/welcoming week. The diversity event, who came up with that? That's so smart. will be held on September 17th at Miller Park, where there will be free mini golf, free food, and fun soccer activities. And I had nothing to do with that. I know everybody knows I love soccer, but I'm not the one who planned this. So, and if you're lucky enough, I might even get out there and play, who knows. So I encourage everyone to come out and enjoy all the fun on September 17th at Miller Park. And now we're gonna move into public comment. Madam Clerk, do we have public comment?
We do. First off, we did receive 2 emails which were provided to council earlier today. Those came from Chelsea Smith and then Christina Barnett. And we have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people registered to speak. We'll first start with John Walter and then to follow Zach Carlson after you read your statement.
Okay. Public comment is an opportunity for speakers to provide their views and feedback to the City Council. It is also an opportunity for the City Council to listen and hear diverse points of view. To maximize the impact of public comment and show respect for the expression of all views, speakers should maintain civility and focus on city issues. Speakers must identify themselves for the record, but are not required to give their address. Each speaker is given the floor for 3 minutes, and the council does not respond or engage in debate. Any speaker that engages in threatening or disorderly behavior will be deemed out of order and their time seized. Thank you.
My name is John Walther, and Sunday is also Constitution Day. Done in the year of our Lord and in the year of the Revolution, our Constitution provides a framework for what Benjamin Franklin called a republic. If you can keep it, Franklin understood that a republic is difficult. It seeks to provide public governance in ordered liberty through such things as separation of powers, separation of jurisdictions for the national, state, county, and yes, city government. Areas. All this is to provide a variety or diversity of priorities, positions, ideas. Some do not like this. They say it causes division, obstructions, delays, factions. James Madison understood that. He wrote the First and 27th Amendments to the Constitution. He explained that faction is to liberty as air is to fire. All this is designed so that no individual, group, party, or even the majority can hold on to power. And there was one group that really didn't like this. Following the attack on their capital, they tried to put an end to this divisive factions. But that didn't quite work, and they still had portions in the country that weren't cooperating, so they passed the Enablement Acts, and that is how the Nazi Party put an end to the Weimar Republic. We pledge allegiance to our republic, in that we seek to form a common identity, both for naturalized and native born, around a common set of ideals of liberty and justice for all, knowing that in a republic we will frequently, often freely, and very often fervently disagree on what that means. As you deliberate, and you're a deliberative body, you're expected to deliberate, to discuss, to argue, even to disagree, as you disagree with each other and with your constituents. This is not a flaw in the system, a mistake. It is not a threat to democracy. It is intentional. It is by design. It is fundamental that for civic debate on civic matters,
Sorry, your time is up.
I am almost done. I have about 50 more seconds inside of this to do. No,
No, you-
20 more seconds to do that.
No, I'm
Well,
sorry, I can't.
That's okay. Well, anyway, long live the Republic and long live the Constitution. I will get down. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. And again, sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but to keep everybody at 3 minutes. Who's next?
All right, next up we have Zach Carlson, and then to follow will be Janae Clark.
Hello, I'm Zach Carlson. I want to start off with talking about an issue that came up a couple weeks ago with the one white place discussion. I just want to start off saying that I'm just really disappointed in how that discussion of people who, in my position now, went. That was some of the classist, most classist, borderline racist stuff I've heard in a long time and came before this council. I wanted just to address currently that we are in a housing crisis, right? I want to get ahead of any discussion on this. That currently one white place is being controlled. It should be up to code. It should be safe, right? We need affordable housing in this neighborhood. You know, we kind of dropped the ball on C2 East. We kind of dropped the ball on East Washington, right? Those are going to be high-end places that people with high incomes are going to take. We need low-income places too. And so when it comes to one white place, I hope it just continues as is. It remains the 9 units. It provides what's really needed in this community. On top of that, I want to see how the vacancy list is going. We've asked that in May. I know it's only been 4 months now, but I want to kind of follow up, see how many places that list is accrued, how many places we can maybe get back up to code, rehouse, put back into production. I also just want to, help, right? I don't want to come up here all the time and berate or be ornery or anything, right? We want to help. We want to make sure this continues. So if we can look into that vacancy list, we want to, publish those numbers, see what's going on. That'd be great. Put a fine, a fee, a tax on it, get them moving. Secondly, a couple other issues. I missed my comment a few weeks ago on the Bearcat. That's one thing at this point that we passed it. Normal's doing a much better job on that. They're not getting one. That's $250,000 that they now have to do other things. And in our FOIA to DPD, they provided us 3 out of 5 SWAT deployments this past year. Of the 3, all of them didn't find any weapons. 2 of them were for drugs, 1 was for a car. So, Chief lied to you. Lied to us. It's simple. We didn't need this. There's no violent threat to this, right? Not for 25% of calls. And then lastly, I just want to thank Cody for helping out Summer Street. We got our holes fixed. We have a bunch of gravel pitch. It's an old brick road. I do want to say though, looking forward, can we get the whole thing evened out? Keep the brick. Don't want to pave it, but I want the whole thing to get evened out. It's old. Do it once. It's going to cost a lot of money. That's okay. Do it once. You won't touch it again for another 100 years. Not tomorrow, not next week. Sometime next few years would be great. Thanks.
All right, next up we have Janae Clark, and then to follow will be Christopher Beaumont.
Hello, I'm here to speak on some of the same issue that Zach spoke about. I don't know if any of you took the time to listen to the comments last time, but it was absolutely shameful. Especially Ward 4, I don't know how you can sit there and hear your neighbors spew that kind of garbage and not be completely embarrassed. The comments that I heard, they basically were just spoke of entitlement and privilege. And we're talking about housing, which is a human right. there were a couple people who alluded to saying that while they had the issue that their children could not run with reckless abandon in an alley. That sounds like a parenting issue. You don't say, well, we don't want these people here because we feel like they're gonna run over our children that feel so entitled to play in a roadway. That's ridiculous. I also heard people saying that there were people sitting outside. People do that, but I guess these are the wrong people, right? I mean, maybe they don't have air conditioning. A lot of people don't have air conditioning and they sit outside when it's nice out. To say that they don't want them there, or that, oh, I spent $30,000 to ensure that I can stay cool in my house, but someone down the street better not sit outside and speak to my child, which, by the way, I think is complete bullshit, because that guy is trash. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble finding the words to how these people were speaking. Even if they said they were more eloquent, they weren't. They were basically speaking to the same points that the worst of the worst did. They just weren't saying it out loud. When they talk about the parking, for example, there's plenty of parking. I've been driving down the road to see if there's congestion. There's no congestion. There's plenty of room for parking. That's just another, they don't want people parking in front of their house. I guess I'll just leave it at, we know the landlord is scum, and I think we should hold the city accountable to make sure things are enforced, but you don't, in the middle of a housing crisis, decide to reduce the number of affordable apartments because you have people that don't want them there. The only thing I see festering here in Bloomington Normal is the rotten to the core NIMBYism. Thank you.
Next.
All right, next up we have Christopher Bummel, and then to follow Matt Tosco.
Good afternoon, City Council members. My name is Chris Bummel, and I'm a resident of Ward 4, and I represent the neighborhood experience outside White Place. I'm here today to speak on the issue of One White Place, its current and historic status as a 9-unit apartment, and a recent dispute by members of White Place in regards to that status. My concern is the use of building safety regulations and code by the prior presentations when this issue was brought to the council. More specifically, how building safety is used to present and justify an argument against a valuable resource in Bloomington, that resource being affordable housing for residents of our city. The arguments made essentially attempted to justify the position of housing reduction and inaccessibility by appealing to notions of a breach in safety for residents of the building. Historically, One White Place has had 9 units, and the current renovations requiring permits and certifications from the city should ensure the safety of residents and compliance of code. By all means, the city should be diligent of ensuring the safety of residents in this situation. This is not contested. However, there is more to the preceding arguments against the current zoning decision of 9 units than simply a concern for residential safety. Frankly, the concern seems more about the quote-unquote unsavoriness present of lower income strata next to a particular residential clique than the actual safety for residents who may occupy the units. I am by no means in favor of slumlording vulnerable people who have to find a place to live. The point I wish to make clear is that safety theater cannot be allowed to justify the reduction of necessary housing. The city currently has the power to ensure that slumlording does not occur, and the city has the power to verify the status and safety of One White Place. The city has the power to fight the housing crisis. For context, much of Ward 4's affordable housing gets subbed up by student housing for Wesleyan University. Student housing is a necessity, but what of the residents who simply work and live here, such as myself? I ask that the City Council not consider aesthetics or temporary inconvenience as justifications for reducing accessible and affordable housing from the community, especially during our current housing crisis. I ask that the City Council instead consider the absolute need for housing in our community and I asked the City Council to use the tools and policy made available to the city to ensure all 9 units are fit and dignifying for future residents of One White Place. I also asked that methods of social/public housing, community control of housing be investigated by the city for future zoning policy for Bloomington. And I asked the community to recognize what we all can do and what we may have to put aside for the greater good. Thank you.
Next.
All right, next up is Matt Tosco, and then the final speaker will be Serena Fish.
Hi, Matt Tosco, BNCP USA member. The NIMBYs of White Place are attempting to expand their privilege by keeping people they feel are beneath them off of their street, exacerbating our city's housing crisis for their own selfish whims. There have been 9 lower cost apartments at One White Place for decades and decades. Having 9 units there is nothing new. The crocodile tears that came here 2 weeks ago to cry for prospective tenants are disingenuous at best. The units will be 100% up to modern code, and there are people in our communities right now who need every last one of those 9 units. If the new landlord's a slumlord, there's existing ways the city can aggressively deal with him. The important thing is making sure that most units possible are on the market for those who need them. The NIMBYs of White Place know that fewer, bigger units means more expensive units, and they are essentially trying to pick their neighbors based upon their own bigoted views of those less fortunate than them. One of their speakers said all the quiet parts out loud, using language like festering and unsavory, likening those well off to drug dealers and prostitutes. When punching down, this exact kind of language has precluded some of history's worst atrocities as it dehumanizes whole segments of the population. For the past 2 weeks, I've been using White Place instead of Linden to get between Empire and Emerson, and I've not seen the hordes of children running with reckless abandon that several of their speakers mentioned. That's more of a matter of parenting than it is density anyway. What I did encounter were grown-ass adults backing out of their driveways with reckless abandon. I used my horn more in the last 2 weeks than I have in this town in years. If the NIMBYs of White Place really want to pursue this selfish path, I feel it's necessary to remind them just how public their street is. The people of Bloomington really need to see for themselves what a nicer and safer stretch White Place is compared to Linden Street. We also need to talk about the arch at the south end. Yes, it's beautiful and historic, but it was built for a time that no longer exists, and today's Bloomington is an unnecessary nuisance the way it pinches down traffic to one lane and poses a threat to pedestrians on Empire by blocking the side of traffic. This will look like what we did to help at least one of you get elected to the council with door knocking, lid dropping, and signage. Now, I don't know the political bent of these NIMBYs on White Place, but that's irrelevant. John K. Galbraith, critically acclaimed author and one of the U.S.'s foremost economists, once said, "The modern conservative is engaged in one of man's oldest exercises in moral philosophy. That is, the search for a superior moral justification for selfishness. And that succinctly describes the NIMBYs of White Place's shallow excuses for their foul ambitions." Thank you.
All right, last up is Serena Fish.
Good evening. I'm Serena Fish. I'm head of Westside Neighbors. I'm a member of the PSCRB board. And listening to the ladies from the immigrant group, today is 9/11. I was extremely moved for what the city did as I came down East Street and turned, and there were all those flags at the bottom of the hill on BCPA. More so, I had to run back home before I went to my next destination. And at Miller Park, they were playing the bagpipes in recognition of those firefighters and police that died. For a few days, united we stood because divided we will fall. Take that home tonight and think about it. I especially thank the ladies that spoke tonight. They understand what this country is. Don't screw it up. Thank you.
Any further public comment?
All right, so we're going to move to the consent agenda. And do we have any items that anybody would like to pull, or do I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to pull 7F.
7F. Okay. Is there a motion then to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7F?
I would move to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 7F.
Okay, Councilmember Hendricks with the motion. I'll second. Okay, second by Councilmember Crumpler. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Kearns?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowen?
No.
Councilmember Motley?
No.
Councilmember Dannenberger?
Yes.
Councilmember Becker?
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Lee?
Yes.
Councilmember Crumpler?
Yes. Okay, so the item passes. I think there are 2 names to announce, correct?
That is correct. Councilmember Bowen and Councilmember Motley.
Sounds good. And now we're going to move to item 7F. That was pulled by Councilmember
Yes,
Burns.
thank you. So I wanted to pull this agenda item as to take an opportunity to, I'm always going to want to highlight the community development block grant. The city receives this money from the federal government, HUD, Housing and Urban Development. And so I just want to make sure that we highlight this area of the source of funding that we get from our community, or for our community from the government. And so the agenda item is about increasing the funds, but I also want to, I guess, just ask some questions about it. So I'll stick on topic. I won't get too far afield here, but so we're getting more money, and the materials just weren't quite. I'd like some more explanation about what this extra money is being used for and how we're going to leverage these additional dollars.
I see Melissa Hahn stepping up to the podium. Did you want to speak to it first?
No, I just, real quick, I was going to say, Alderperson Kearns shared that she was going to pull this item for the reason that she shared, and I know Melissa, as the Director of the Economic Community Development Department, typically attends, but appreciate giving us a chance to provide. Melissa?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council, and City Manager. So for this agenda item, it is not an overall increase. Kind of to give you a little bit of background, we have to start submitting our budget numbers for the citywide budget in October. We don't know what our allocation is going to be from HUD until could be April, May. So generally, we budget very low numbers for what we actually put in the city budget. Once we get our formal allocation, that is what we use for the annual action plan. So for the annual action plan that was approved for all of the expenditures of this money was approved back in April. And basically now we have to do a formal budget amendment because to adjust from the difference between what we budgeted back in October to what we actually received of the total from HUD.
So then what you're saying is these additional funds have been accounted for in the annual action plan?
Correct.
Okay. And then kind of a follow-up related. So so the annual action plan is based on a 5-year consolidated plan that we do every 5 years. And are we coming up on the end of our current plan and getting into what our next 5-year plan is going to look like?
Yes, so our current consolidated plan expires in 2024. We've started initial internal meetings. So as part of that, The next step will be to start working on our citizen participation plan, and so that will outline how the community can be involved in the planning process.
Okay, great. So I hope everyone heard that, and I want to make sure that that's something that those who pay attention to our housing issues, this funding, while it's not as easy as let's throw money and make housing, but I really hope that this 5-year consolidated plan can involve what the community needs are, which is housing. And so the more we participate, I don't know how long ago it was for the annual action plan, that there was a community hearing, if I'm saying that right, and no one showed up. So, but that means we just have to find different ways to reach out to the community. So thank you for letting me take this opportunity to highlight this area of funding that I think can be really helpful for the community, and things that the staff and city and myself holding ourselves accountable so that we can do what we can to make this funding work best for our community. And with that, I'd like to offer a motion to approve agenda item 7F.
I'll second.
Okay. Second by Councilmember Ward. Madam Clerk?
Councilmember Kearns?
Yes.
Councilmember Bolin?
Yes.
Councilmember Motney?
Yes.
Councilmember Dannenberger?
Yes.
Councilmember Becker?
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward? Aye. Councilmember Lee?
Yes.
Councilmember Crumpler?
Yes. Yeah, it passes. There are no nays to announce. And then we're going to move on to the regular agenda. Consideration and action on an ordinance approving a Sixth Amendment.
Mayor? Yes, I would like to bring attention to item 7G. I would like to have some...
You wanted to pull that?
Yes, I'd like to get some additional comments on 7G.
Oh, I didn't hear you say that. Can we do that now that we've already?
I think the mayor could allow you to comment, or there could be a vote to suspend the rules to allow you to comment, but the item's already been passed as part of the consent agenda.
I mean, you should have pulled it before, so I can allow you to make some comments if you'd like to make those comments. But,
Or it could also be addressed in the alderman's comment period.
do you want to make those comments now, or?
So are we not allowed to vote on it?
No, you should have, it was on the consent agenda, so it went on to the consent. You should have pulled it if you wanted to vote on it separately.
Yes. I was waiting for item 7F to finish.
Well, what you should have done when I asked the question, is there any items that anybody would like to pull? That's when you should have pulled it, like you did last time.
Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, it's already been voted on. If you want to make some comments, we can certainly suspend the rules and allow you to make comments as George suggested, or you can make comments in automatic comments later. What would you prefer?
Yeah.
Automatic comments?
Well, yeah, if it's already passed, then yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, so we're going to go to item 8A, and consideration and action on an ordinance approving the Sixth Amendment to the contract between the City of Bloomington and Tim Gleason as requested by the City Council and myself. And just wanted to make some brief comments. One, I want to thank the City Manager for the job that he has done. I know the job of City Manager is one that is pretty challenging and has many folks to try to satisfy. And sometimes, has many critics. But I believe Tim has often handled that with grace and dedication. And I would personally note that Bloomington has emerged from COVID not only in better shape, than most communities, but it is also thriving as businesses and individuals continue to see it as a desirable community to invest in. And this is due in large part to how the city staff, led by Mr. Gleason, have executed on the vision of various councils Mr. Gleason has had to work with. One number that we've, Tim has shared, and it's amazing to realize that he's worked with 24 different council members ever since he started. So it certainly can be very challenging, working with so many different individuals and different views and opinions and priorities. One other thing too, I know, housing was mentioned, and I think we're seeing some movement in that area within the community, and I think that's also thanks to the job that Tim has done with the staff as well. The city is also in a very good financial position, and the monthly financial updates led by the finance directors are very well appreciated by the council. And he's not even here to hear this, but thank God for YouTube, because I know he'll be watching. So they've been appreciated by the council, but also by the community. And this is an improvement that was instituted by Tim when he started as city manager 5 years ago. So every month we get an update on the financial status of the city, and I think everyone has appreciated that. So this is why we are now bringing forward this ordinance to reward the city manager Gleason with a 5% raise, an additional week of vacation, and an agreement to cover all costs associated with the city manager's participation in the Mayo Executive Health Program annual physical. So with that, I'm gonna maybe ask for a motion.
I would make a motion to approve the 6th Amendment to the contract between the City of Bloomington and Tim Gleason.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Hendricks and second by Councilmember Bowling.
Councilmember Kearns?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowling?
Yes.
Councilmember Motney?
Yes.
Councilmember Dannenberger?
Yes.
Councilmember Becker?
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward? Aye. Councilmember Lee?
Yes.
Councilmember Crumpler?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The item passes, and the names to announce. And we are going to, nice segue to the city manager's discussion.
Thank you very much, Mayor and Council. And to the community, I think we have 4 or 5 slides. Obviously, going to lead with a 9/11 slide. I know most in this room remember exactly where they were at. This is back in my law enforcement days. I was a day shift lieutenant, and obviously the day got very busy, set in motion with sort of the what-if decisions that were occurring that day of. Also, someone that I had the extreme pleasure to work with. Eyes were glued to the TV screen because she had a daughter-in-law that was an officer in the Army stationed at the Pentagon. So it's a day that all of us will remember, and wanted to just take a quick second to recognize all those that have fallen and all those that have fallen since that day. That number has actually exceeded the number that were killed the day of. Next slide, please. Festival of Joy. This is September 16th, and I believe that's Saturday. Is that Saturday? Drawing a blank.
Yes.
All right, Saturday, downtown square, 2:30 to 7. And next slide, please. Explore the Beer, Camp Regala. This one's coming up in a couple of weeks on September 30th. And then also the downtown farmers market this Saturday, 7:30 to noon. Say it every week, prepping for it, but it's just a tremendous event that's been recognized, statewide and even nationally, what occurs here in Bloomington. Next slide, please. And I have no idea what this is. Is this Mackinac Valley Vineyards?
It's your next vacation spot.
Okay. And then were there any other slides? Okay. And then I do have a couple of additional items. Just an update. I know council's already aware of this, but regarding number 1, White's Place. And actually, this is an even larger conversation than that specific property. Like I just mentioned, council's already aware, but more so for the community, the next steps. Staff made quick work of gathering some preliminary information, got that into the hands of the council. And then not this week, but for next week, we're scheduling 3-on-1 meetings with the elected officials, which is what we do, to prep them, put them on firm ground for what might be possible outcomes or my marching orders as city manager. So just wanted to keep the community informed on what is occurring next. So council's already received some emailed information, returning that into staff conversation and 3-on-1 meetings that will be scheduled for next week. And then we'll see what, if anything, comes next after that. 2 more items. Chief West. Chief, would you stand up for me? I think everybody's aware that on Friday, Chief made the announcement that he is going to retire after 32 years with the Bloomington Fire Department, effective December 7th. This is a man that stepped into this position 3 years ago and has led the department extremely well while I've been here and have had the pleasure to work with him. And I know I mentioned December 7th. I'm not done with him yet. There's plenty to do, and there's a handful of things that he's going to be very involved in setting in motion. And the new leader of the fire department will see those to completion. But Chief West's hand will always be a part of what is and what will be set in motion. Chief, I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you're going to have an opportunity of retirement, but if you want to say a couple of words, please do.
I'll make it short. Council Mayor, City Manager, thank you. It's been a wonderful 32 years. Like I said, I got a few more months ahead of me. I do have some things that I want to get started, at least keep the department moving in the right direction, which it has always been for the past 32 years that I've been here. So I appreciate Tim giving me this opportunity, and I've enjoyed every minute of it, as I've enjoyed every minute of the fire department. So hopefully I have some more words towards in November. So thank you.
Last item, Mayor, Council, and to the community. I just want to say thank you. I don't have a speech prepared. Knew that this was a regular agenda item tonight about me. We do this once a year, and I serve a great community. I serve a great elected body, and truly I am the most proud of having served 24 elected officials the 5 years that I've been here. You don't ever hear no on the agenda items that come before council. Things are voted and approved, and we've got a lot done. And truly, I'm just a small part, and I mean this, a small part of a tremendous directors team that I work with, and an organization from top to bottom that make me look extremely good, and just love this community. So it's great to be a part of that. So thank you.
Good, thank you. And the mayor's items for the discussion, I wanted to also add a few words about 9/11. As was said appropriately, I think it is important to remember the spirit of togetherness on that day, and to harness that for future days, you know, when things are challenging. I remember exactly where I was. I was in a residence hall that no longer is, and getting ready to go to work on the ISU campus, and until I heard it on the TV, because I always watch the news, you know, before I head out, and then I was glued to the TV. So again, you know, I want to say thank you to members of you know, fire department and police department who always sacrifice. You know, there are many who sacrificed that day. Also wanted to go back to the Festival of Joy that City Manager Gleason mentioned. It's something that I attended last year. Very colorful and a lot of fun, and I'm very happy that we're going to have it in the downtown square this time. And so I would encourage everyone to just go out there and take a look. You know, that's part of enriching the community and have people. There's lots of volunteers. It takes a lot of volunteers to make that happen. So members of the Indian community get together and decide to put that on. So I would definitely encourage everyone to go out there and, you know, if not participate, but at the very least, you know, take a look and enjoy what's happening. Also want to thank Chief West. You know, congratulate you on your retirement. Thank you for a job well done. And you are required to stay in the community during your retirement. Can't go anywhere. And we have Chief Symington, who was there to make sure that you stay here. But thank you so much for all your work in the community. Let's see. Oh, and I was also asked for an update on the Commission on Safe Communities. Just very quickly, I have received 9 applications so far. I have interviewed 5, and I have 2 more scheduled this week, and have 1 that we've been trying to contact that has not responded, and then I have another application to review, which I believe probably came in very recently. You know, just as far as the challenges that I have encountered, so some folks, it has taken some time to schedule them because of schedules, but also I was hoping to get more applications by this time, but we're only at 9 at this point, so, but that is what is going on there. What happened? Is that for me? No? Okay. Yeah, so hopefully, you know, I'm hoping that I can make some appointments by, you know, the next council meetings, or at least, you know, send them to council to consider. So that's where we are. And I'm gonna now turn it over to council members.
Excuse me, Mayor, given Councilman Lee's request to make a comment about item G in the consent agenda, I did want to point out, he does have the option of making a comment, but there is also provision where if the councilman wanted to urge this, there could be a motion to reconsider the council's approval of item G as part of the consent agenda. That motion would need to be made by one of the council persons who voted in favor of it, and would need to be made either prior to the close of this meeting or prior to the close of the next meeting. I don't know.
Prior to the start of the next meeting, you mean?
No, prior to it could be made at the following meeting.
At the following meeting.
At any rate, I think it may be useful to know if the councilman wants to make a comment about the item, or if he's interested in potentially having a motion to reconsider, in which case we could go into the rules a little bit more specific detail.
Does he have it?
So-
This meeting or the next meeting?
Yes, this meeting.
The way the rule reads is that it has to be prior to the close during which the original vote was taken, including any continuation of that meeting through recess or adjournment to a time and place certain, or the second option is at the next regularly scheduled council meeting following the meeting during which the original vote was taken. So at the end of this meeting or the next meeting.
So, yes, so I do have the option to.
Right, and the motion itself needs to be taken by one of the council persons who voted in favor of the original motion.
So one of the council members who voted for the original motion, which would be him, right?
Point of clarification, you said, then you're voting, the person who voted, or someone who voted to table it has to vote, no, I'm.
Person who voted yes.
Oh, I, okay, I'm sorry.
So now you need a second.
So
So
for
go ahead.
clarity, that includes
Correct.
anyone except for Councilmember Bolin and myself. Is that correct?
Correct. Anyone who voted in favor of the motion, in this case, the consent agenda, approving the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Well, we didn't have it first.
Yes, so I would like to.
He needs the first. Now, can Councilmember Bolin second if she voted no initially?
I think she can second. The rule's silent on that. It simply says the council may vote to reconsider its action on a matter. The motion to do so must be made by a member who voted for the prevailing side of the previous motion.
Okay, so, well, let's get this.
So there were two people who voted against the consent agenda, or the consent agenda motion. Those cannot vote. Those cannot make the motion.
Okay, all right.
The rule is silent about whether they can second the motions. I think, I think we could say that the motion needs to be made by somebody who voted to pass the consent agenda.
So that would be me, so I would motion to reconsider item 7G.
And Councilmember Bolin seconded, right? Okay. So, we have a motion and a second.
So, yes, we can move forward with the vote, with
With
me,
Lee,
yeah,
yes.
with Lee making the motion and Bolin being the second. And then just to be clear, this is just going to put it back on the table to then be voted on separately. The rest of the consent agenda would stay as is. So this
Right.
is just applicable to bring you 7G back
And we're doing that today, right now.
right now.
Okay.
Can I ask one more point of clarification? We're only voting right now to reconsider. We are not voting whether it's going to pass or not.
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. Councilmember Kearns.
No.
Councilmember Bolin.
Yes.
Councilmember Monty.
Yes.
Councilmember Dannenberger.
No.
Councilmember Becker.
Yes.
Councilmember Hendricks.
No.
Councilmember Ward.
No.
Okay, so I think it's 5-4, right? Five
yes.
yes?
No, we have 4 yes and 5 no. Right? Oh, other way.
I think we have 5 yes. That's what I thought, yeah.
Okay, let me, if you don't mind, really quick. So Kearns, I have no. Bolin, yes. Monty, yes. Dannenberger, no. Becker, yes. Hendricks, no. Ward, no. Lee, yes. Crumpler, no.
Yes.
There we go. My apologies. 5-4, yes. Now we would take 7G.
You don't need to announce the no's again, do you?
I don't think so. I just did it for my minutes, so it'll be fine. Thank you.
I think you just did.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to
Take 7G.
7G, and somebody needs to make a motion to approve. And then,
There may be just some discussion.
Yes. Is there an opportunity to discuss this? Or, so we're not bringing it back to the next meeting. We're going to go ahead and revisit the topic now?
Yes, that's exactly right. So it's just as if we're considering it for the first time right now.
So do you want to speak to that, Councilmember Lee?
Yes, I would. So the 7G item refers to a chicken coop in Ward 8. The HOA Association has rules around keeping of barnyard animals, and a chicken, I would consider that a barnyard animal. It is my opinion that the HOA should have the final say in this, and I want to clarify that the HOA rules specifically states that it is not allowed in that neighborhood, in the subdivision there in Oak Ridge. So I would just like to bring that up, that the HOA rule specifically states that this is not allowed.
Does anybody else?
I'd like to make a comment on it. A few months ago, and I did some research on this topic because of some conflict in one of the neighborhoods that I represent, and the conflict was resolved, and ultimately the request for the special permit was agreed to. This is kind of a unique situation in that when I asked the questions on the case that I had back in June, I received information from staff indicating many communities have started using a special use permit or similar process as a way to introduce chicken keeping, as was the intent of the Planning Commission by recommending the action. So in our community, it's my understanding that we do not allow chicken keeping as a matter of right that would supersede a homeowners association's rules. And looking at the content that was provided for us for our session tonight, we have the minutes of the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting on July 19th, which specifically asked in answer and response that this ordinance does not supersede an HOA item. That was part of the discussion. In the minutes, there were residents who were confused in that, and I shared in their confusion. That's why in June, when this matter came up in another area, I wrote a bunch of questions up to really understand if our Zoning Board of Appeals is being advised that they must give the permit if qualifications exist, then what is our expectation of council? Because if our objective is simply to automatically improve them all, then that's kind of a different lane. But at that time, I was advised that that's the Zoning Board of Appeals requirements, but our requirements are to look and make a decision as to whether or not we agree as a council to offer that or approve that special permit. This is the first time I've read notes that indicate a homeowners board president actually attended the meeting to speak out against this. And I'm very uncomfortable. It feels like somewhat overreach for us to, as a council, being told by the council to the Zoning Board of Appeals that the HOA supersedes our ordinance, to then ask us to vote on an ordinance that would put this resident at odds with their homeowners association. It sounded like, based on a communication that we received, that there might be an appetite within that HOA to actually amend their rules. And if they did, I would, certainly have voted yes on the consent agenda tonight. That's why I voted no. I just feel it's an overreach for us to insert ourselves when we have homeowners associations across the country that serve a purpose, certainly throughout our community, not only in single-family neighborhoods, but also in condominium associations and other associations such as that. That's why I felt uncomfortable. That's why I voted no on this evening. That's my comment.
Okay. Thank you. So Councilmember Boland, Councilmember Ward, and Councilmember Crumpler. this whole issue about chickens is
I
getting us
want
on.
to, yeah, I want to say this is not about chickens and chicken coops. I find that it's fine. I live in a homeowners association, and my covenant also says no farm animals, like, you know, but there is a process. If you buy a home in a homeowners association, then you are, you have to follow that covenant. It is a legal document, but there are also ways to amend it. And there's a process, just like our variance process, but it takes 2/3 vote of the entire community. The board members cannot just change and amend the vote. You need 2/3 homeowners, and it has to be registered with the county clerk before the action can be taken. And there's one finding of fact that bothers me, and that is that this property owner violated city code prior to applying for a special use permit. She had chickens running around her backyard before applying for the special use. So I have trouble rewarding someone for violating the code. And the whole issue with the homeowners association, I probably would set that aside, except that she brought it up as part of her argument in favor. And the last thing is that there were more people giving testimony at the meeting against this than for. So for those reasons, I think, and the fact that it's in Ward 8 and the Ward 8 Alderman is questioning this, I would go with what the representative would vote for.
Okay, Councilmember Ward.
Yeah, it's my understanding that we can't enforce private contracts and that a homeowners association agreement is a private contract. So it seems to me like it's pretty cut and dry that we can't vote against this. I think that the city has plenty of room to spend its time and resources enforcing the codes that we have that are a public contract between us and the city. If we are worried about wild animals running loose in the neighborhood or in people's backyards, let's start with feral cats and dogs that are attacking people and leave the chickens alone. I won't be voting to shoot this one down.
Councilmember Crumpler. Thank you, Mayor. I sympathize with Councilmember Motney and Councilmember Lee. You know, it seems to me that there's sometimes a tension between HOA policy or covenants and city ordinances. And, you know, I have yet to see a chicken permit request not be approved. And they're all approved. And so, given that Councilmember Motney mentioned confusion perhaps at the HOA meeting, and I really appreciate Councilmember Lee going back as HOA, you know, to try to seek more information. However, I'm concerned that, you know, this one individual is punished too strong of a word, you know, but not granted the permit based on, you know, us not clear on, you know, what HOA policies, city ordinances are sometimes. So I voted, you know, to table it because I felt like he needed the opportunity to go out and speak with his constituents. In this case, though, I think maybe we, in the future, think or look more carefully at the relationship between the HOA policy and city ordinances to see if there's anything we can do or what legal can do to make that clearer. So I will vote to approve this. Thank you.
So I think council was going to make a comment, and then I do have a question.
Go ahead, Jody.
Well, just to address, and this did come up at the zoning board meeting, our take as the city's legal department on this has been that in judging about the special use, the ZBA, zoning board of appeals, and this tribunal, you know, should be applying the standards that are in the ordinance And a couple of them that are relevant to what was brought up is whether they would have a detrimental effect on the neighborhood and so on. The rules that are involved in the homeowner's contract are not necessarily specifically in and of themselves, one of those standards. A legislator may decide that those are some reflection of the standards of the community and, may have their own way of applying the standards. Our position has been that this is what the person has applied for and is allowed to do under the city's zoning code, and that that's a separate matter than whether they are in compliance with the HOA rules. We feel like that's between the HOA and the HOA member who has the special use. There was some discussion of a different point of view that somehow that gave them a right to operate outside of the HOA rules. We don't necessarily feel that that's the case. Our position in this has been to get the best process we can for to get a record, lay a factual basis for the application of the standards for award or denial of a special use. And we have pretty much treat the HOA rules and the relationship of the HOA and its members as a separate matter. Because it is, to some degree, a private contractual matter, rather than a matter of enforcement of the city's zoning code.
Okay. Councilwoman Martin?
When I wrote in with the questions in June, it does sound like we do receive complaints for noises and things of that nature associated with the permits. At that time, since 2019, I was told 15 had been issued. So while we talk about this being routine and that we're routinely approving them, that was the statistic that was provided to me at that time. So, it's not a very big number, if you will. What's distinctly different, I think, in this case for me, is this is the first time we've been confronted with making a decision that is knowingly contradictory to a board that is legally authorized to govern its own neighborhood through its membership. That, to me, is different. I voted positively on the others that have come before this group during my tenure on this council. But in this case, where would we draw the line with any homeowners association's opportunity to self-govern? That's why I do not support this and why I voted no earlier.
Oh, Councilman Ward?
I'd like to move that we approve item 7G.
Second.
Okay, so motion by Councilmember Ward, second by Councilmember Hendricks.
We'll get it right this time. Councilmember Kearns?
Yes.
Councilmember Bowen?
No.
Councilmember Motney?
No.
Councilmember Dannenberger?
Yes.
Councilmember Becker?
No.
Councilmember Hendricks?
Yes.
Councilmember Ward?
Aye.
Councilmember Lee?
No.
Councilmember Crumpler?
Yes.
5-4 again for approval.
What was the total? 63 or 5-4?
5-4.
5-4, okay. All right. Well, I think we're at council member discussion, right? Let's hope that was good enough. Okay, Councilmember Kearns, we only have 2 seconds.
Well, I have 3 things very quickly. One is I just wanted to shout out the amazing event that I went to on this very stage on Friday. It was the Art Station fundraiser with Leslie Carrera Rudolph. She did, I won't admit to knowing about everything that she did during the week, that her team did to bring positivity and kind of bring a light to what the Art Station does for kids and art in our community. But I also want to thank the BCPA staff because I understand that they donated their time, so I don't know if any of you are the ones that were there on Friday, but I just wanted to thank the BCPA staff for that. And I want to give a shout out to Mose Ricky. We had a really amazing time, me and some other council members and the mayor, on the Labor Day parade. I got to drive a golf cart, so that was super cool. And and Mose is just so amazing, so awesome. He and his team. It was a really positive, fun event. I hope everyone had a great time. I tried to hand out the most candy, so we might need more next year. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is this is just a shout out for my husband. Go Jets!
Awesome. True. Labor Day parade was awesome. Thank you, Moses. That was fantastic. And we ran out of candy, so we need more next year. Okay. Councilmember Hendricks, Boland.
I would reiterate some of that as well. I'm just going to also thank the Illinois Art Station and DCPA for that event. Art Station was super kind and invited all of us to attend, and it was a fantastic event. Labor Day parade, also really good. I was also going to show up. I don't want to build your ego up too much, but it was a fantastic event. Kudos to the mayor for walking the entire time as Jenna and I drove.
And his half cartwheel.
Yeah,
I'm waiting for the rest of it.
We're right behind some of the cheer teams, and he was trying to do cheer. The other thing that I had was I'm going to host my first Alderman Ward meeting on October 2nd, which is a Monday, one that we have off from council, and so I wanted to put that out to the community. It's going to be from 5 to 6:30 at the Art Hangar. The Art Hangar has been super kind and has offered their space. So I'll be there just mostly for an open house. People can stop by. I'll also have County Board Member for District 8, Leah Klein, who represents all of Ward 6 as well. And then the city manager has been so kind as to offer to come as well. So there will be a few of us there if individuals want to stop by and have any questions or comments, or just want to come see the art in the Art Hangar. That would be great as well. Thanks.
Councilmember.
Yeah, I attended the Behavioral Health Coordinating Council last week, and I just want to announce that they are having their annual mental health forum. It's scheduled for October 19th. It's an all-day event, and lunch is included at the Bone Center. This has been going on for several years. They bring in special speakers to talk about the different aspects of mental and behavioral health, and it's well worth attending if you can. But you need to register, I think, by the 9th of October. I'll share the link with the council members. And the BHCC also has a new member, the director of student health at the university. They're going to be partnering with the county's mental health department or health department, because the students need assistance a lot, I think, at the university. So the other thing is the housing navigator that the city and town funded with the ARP funds has been hired, and since her hiring, she has served 7 clients, and as people come forward with the need, she will continue. She comes highly recommended, so I'm happy with that. And the last thing is I attended the kickoff for the Welcoming America at the museum, and it was sponsored by the Immigration Project and the STAR Adult Literacy Program, English as a Second Language, and it was well attended, and the proclamation for Welcoming Week was actually read in English by me, because I don't know foreign language, and Spanish by somebody from, Rocio from the Immigration Project, and then French by a gentleman from Congo who was related to our mayor. So I appreciate all the participation. Thank you.
Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and move into executive session. Just kidding.
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So motion to adjourn, okay, second, okay, awesome. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. You guys need to lighten up.